shoot in the middle, Mr. Thomas.
All right. Hello, good evening, everyone. For our media colleagues here, whether you're here in the press room or you are in media center right now, good evening for everyone. My name is Muhammad Ahir, and I'll be your moderator for the next press conference. And of course, we will shortly listen to the upcoming joint press statement with our first guest is His Excellency Thomas Bach, President of International Olympic Committee. And then we have our own Mr. Erick Thohir, our State-owned Enterprise Minister, and tonight as well as the member of International Olympic Committee. And then the last but not least is Mr. Zainuddin Amali, Indonesian Minister of Youth and Sport, with the topic, Indonesia is ready to host Olympics 2036. So we will divide with this joint press statement. First of all, Mr. Erick Thohir will deliver the opening speech first, and then we will listen to the explanation from His Excellency Thomas Bach related to the topic of candidacy and also political neutrality in sports. And then we will listen as well from the explanation from the Minister of Zainuddin Amali.
So, good evening, all the media who are present at this moment. So I'm not doing a keynote speech, but it's more some of the information that what we've done during the G20s. As you know, since the beginning of G20, Indonesia really pushed the issue of a people-to-people movement. This is why Indonesia having the first Religion 20 conference and also Music 20 conference that we are also presenting to India for a future presidency. But of course, as sport people, I think it's an honor for me to having also the people-to-people movement through sports. This is why actually when we have a discussion with Mr. President that if we can invite President Thomas Bach as a president of IOC to be present in Indonesia, it will be an honor, and I think it's a good movement for us. That's why during the leaders' lunch, Mr. Thomas Bach gave a very excellent speech among all the head of nations, and then of course, Mr. Thomas Bach will inform the details of his speech during the lunch, but the continuation of that, then this is why our president, President Joko Widodo, this morning having, I will say, declarations that are where Indonesia stands regarding sport neutralities. This is why I would read what he said this morning as a chair of the G20 in 2022, and together with other G20 leaders. I underscore the importance of sports for health and its power to unite the world, especially in the current global situations. The success of the next Olympic and Paralympics Games in Paris in 2024, Milano Cortina in 2026, which is a Winter Olympics, Los Angeles in 2026, Brisbane in 2032, and Youth Olympic Games 2024 in Gangwon as a Winters, and Dakar in 2020 will be highlight the importance of preserving political neutrality in international sports event and governing bodies. At the same time, Mr. President also saying in his speech, in this occasion, I convey Indonesia readiness to host the Olympic 2036 at the Nusantara capital city. I think this is what a brief opening from me, and I think we can follow to His Excellency Mr. Thomas Bach as a President of IOC. Please, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Minister, and dear IOC colleague and a friend. And good evening to all of you. It was indeed a great honor to be invited by your President, Mr. Joko Widodo, for this G20 summit meeting, in particular because the motto of this G20 meeting here was perfectly resonating with our Olympic motto. The motto of the G20 summit meeting was recover together, recover stronger. The new Olympic motto is faster, higher, stronger, together. So it was a perfect fit between these two guidelines for how to address the problems we actually share in this very divisive and confrontational world. And this gave me the opportunity yesterday to explain to these world leaders how and how much sport and the Olympic Games are affected by this division in the world, and that actually we can see some trends which would lead there also to the division of the world of sports. And as you may know, the world of sports is the only area at this moment where everybody in the world respects the same rules and where everybody competes with everybody. So we had to experience that a number of governments want to decide which athletes can take part in which competitions. And this is, of course, for international sports, a very dangerous development, because if this would become the norm, international sports would fall apart. And therefore, I took the opportunity yesterday to convey this message to the world leaders assembled here in the G20. And was very happy then in subsequent individual conversations with a big number of them about the very positive response to this call to the world leaders to respect the political neutrality of sport, and in this way enabling sport to make a contribution to conciliation and peace. And then I was even more grateful today to be informed about the statement of President Joko Widodo in his capacity as a G20 chair, underlining this the principle of respect for the political neutrality of sport, supporting this the political neutrality, emphasizing the role of sport as a unifying factor in our so divisive world, and at the same time also underlining the importance of sport for better health and for healthy societies, because health was another very important topic of this G20 meeting. And also there it was acknowledged, and the pandemic showed it to everybody, how important sport is for physical and mental health, and that there is no healthy society without sport and physical activity. So I would really like to express my deep gratitude to the President for this very strong and encouraging statement on behalf of this summit. And this statement will play a very important role in all the future deliberations of the IOC, how to shape this political neutrality in this divisive world.
Thank you, His Excellency. Now it's time for Minister Zainuddin Amali for the explanation.
Good evening, all of you. On behalf of the Indonesia government, I would like to thank the Honorable President of the IOC, Mr. Thomas Bach, for attending the G20 high-level conference. We really appreciate your noble presence at this honorable event, which has also given another color and made the world sport community proud in the general and Indonesia in particular. President IOC arrival to Indonesia will have a big impact to the development of sport in Indonesia, especially when it's linked to President Joko Widodo's statement made earlier, namely Indonesia set to host the Olympic in 2036 to come. Indonesia has experienced hosting several sporting events in the form of multi-event or a single event. We can prepare all the facilities required by the IOC as we have done when hosting the 2018 Asian Games and Asian Para Games, as well as various other single event activity, including the World Superbike and MotoGP in Mandalika, and various World Championship in several sports, what we have done in Indonesia. I hope the IOC can give us the opportunity to prepare for our desire to host the 2036 Olympics. That's our hope. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I can only warmly welcome this readiness of Indonesia, because it is fitting very well into the new philosophy of the IOC for the organization of future Olympic Games. I would like, first of all, to emphasize again what President Widodo has emphasized today, that how much the Olympic Games can contribute to unity. And in fact, they are contributing a lot to unity in the host country, because normally the population is coming behind these games, and sport is always a unifying factor for all walks of life in any society. And Indonesia is also a great example for harmony and diversity. And in fact, one of our goals is unity in diversity, and there Indonesia is a living example with your tremendously diverse culture, and the harmony with which these different cultures, religious beliefs, and political ideas are living together is really a shining example of this Olympic spirit. And therefore, such Olympic Games here in Indonesia would convey this message of unity in diversity, would convey this message of tolerance and brotherhood. And if I come back to the Olympic motto and to the motto of this summit, would convey this spirit of being together to the whole world. And these Olympic Games happening then in a sustainable city, in a role model for future sustainable and healthy living in Nusantara, with a special emphasis on health and physical activity. So this is a very intriguing project, which I warmly welcome, and for which I offer very close cooperation by the International Olympic committee to develop this project further. So to come together, again, together, to the best possible Olympic project for Indonesia and the international Olympic community.
All right, thank you, His Excellency. Mr. Rector, is there anything else?
Is there any question answer first?
Okay, so it's time for now for Q&A session for any one of you, or you go first. Yeah.
Okay, I'm John Robin from Narasi. First of all, of course, we are surprised of this statement by President Joko Widodo about the Indonesia is ready for hosting the Olympic 2036. But the main question is, how serious is this offer, and why Indonesia want to take part as the host of 2036 Olympics? Thank you.
The question is to whom?
To whom? Okay. Pak Zainuddin first, Pak, silakan. Yeah, please. Yeah, please.
Dari dia wartawan sini kan?
Iya, wartawan sini.
Oke. Baik, kita sangat.
We are very serious in our offer to host the 2036 Olympics. We are actually bidding for the 2032 Olympics, but we were not fast enough because IOC has named Brisbane as the host of the 2032 Olympics. But we still have the willingness to host the Olympics in 2036. So if you ask how serious we are, yes, we are very serious, and we are experienced in hosting multi-events games. Pak Eric was the chair of the organizing committee, and it was very successful, and we are ready to continue the dialogues with the IOC. We will ask the IOC to give us the guidelines, and we will follow the guidelines.
After he make a statement that he give me a call and give me a directive that as an IOC member, I need to bridge the continuation discussion and preparations for Indonesia with, of course, with President Thomas Bach as an IOC's president. At the same time, to liaison with Minister of Sport, Mr. Zainuddin Amali, and also the NOC President, Mr. Okto. So, but again, just to edit what Minister of Sport saying, that as Indonesia, we're serious on bidding these Olympics, because as you know, by 2045, we are having the 100-year celebrations, which is the golden generations of Indonesia. This is why, if you look at some of the big events that host Indonesia, such as G20, I really believe is a very successful G20 event at this moment. Because this is why also why Mr. Thomas Bach insists this is a chance for the world to create peaceful. And you know, the foundation of Indonesia also is unity in diversity, which is, this is what we shown last night during the dinner of the G20 when all the head of nation was there. That this is the belief, and through sport, this is something that we can create a peaceful movement. I really hope, and we are really serious taking on this, and hopefully we can have also support from our members of IOC.
Right, thank you, Minister. Next question, please. Okay.
Good evening to both you all. My name is Andy from Kata Data. There's a few questions that I want to ask. First is the University of Oxford has released a study in 2020 about the cost of Olympic Games. In the studies, it said that the IOC should have contribute at least 10% in Olympic. How do Mr. Bach respond to these studies. And for Mr. Eric and Mr. Amali, the Olympic is not really economically, it's not giving you the return that it should be. I mean, it's not profitable in economic sense. Last Olympic that have profitable is in Los Angeles in these studies. So why the government of Indonesia want to host the Olympic, given that the cost of making the infrastructure is very high and it's not really profitable? And looking at the last Brazil Olympic or Tokyo Olympic, the state of the infrastructure is not very good. So why? Thank you.
Okay. Mr. President, maybe you said, then I will adding.
First of all, there are many wrong assumptions hidden in your question. First of all the recent budgets of organizing committees of Olympic Games have at least be balanced, if not profitable. And a big number of them were profitable. And in these budgets, there is a very significant contribution of the International Olympic Committee to the host. At the moment, for the forthcoming Olympic Games, now we have Paris, for instance. It is about 1.6 billion US dollars coming from the IOC. And this allows the organizing committee to have a balanced budget at the end. And the same is true for Tokyo, for all the others. And in this balanced budget, you do not even have included the economic benefits of the host country with regard to the creation of jobs in the host country, not with regard to the increased income from tourism and all the related revenues being created through the Olympic Games. And then not the least, you do not have in this budget the benefits, you know, of the international reputation for a host country being in the headlines for many years in a positive environment like the Olympic Games. And this the countries have understood after the many reforms we undertook in this respect. And this is why I'm sorry to need to tell you that Indonesia is not alone in presenting a candidature there for the 2036. That there are a number of other countries realizing these and many other benefits for their society, for their economy, and therefore are also longing for organizing Olympic Games.
Okay. Pak Menpora?
Yeah, okay.
Minister, this is not merely about us wanting to record profit. In some of the events that we are hosting, both for a single event and multi-events, we are not merely after economical gain, but we believe that there are some added value. If we can host the Olympics, the impact will be significant to our sports development. Currently, we have a grand design for our national sports. And our target is for 100 years of Indonesia's independence by 2045. we want to be among the 5 best performing nations in terms of sports in the world. That's actually our hope for 2045, Big Five sports performance. In order to achieve this, we have to make efforts, and we are allowed to dream, right? Who can actually prohibit us from dreaming?
As Minister of Sports mentioned, to host Olympic is not just about the number, but I think the big effect of that is basically the movement of the sport itself in terms of the creating the sustainability that our sports organization and also improvement. The second one in terms of human quality, because through sports that we're creating characters that actually can build a nation is stronger through sports. And also if you see what happened in Asian Games, if there is no Asian Games, I don't think we have building more public space in Jakarta. Right now, during Asian Games, of course, at the beginning, people say why the government spending a lot of money on building infrastructures. But at the end, the value of building infrastructures, you can feel it to most of the people. MRT, we built MRT, beginning is also because of Asian Games. And if you look at also the BeritaSatu, you feel on the stadium itself. Right now, it's more public space, are actually the people can enjoy in Jakarta. At the same time, this is something during COVID. If then we don't have the athlete village, I think having the athlete village during Asian Games actually is one of the key that we are war against COVID was successful, because with this facility, actually, then suddenly we have a facility for COVID hospital are ready more than for 18 towers, 10,000 rooms that times. So this is a value that adding that when we build infrastructures during sports. So I really believe building Olympics in Nusantara as a new capital cities, this is very important for Indonesia too. Indonesia cannot hold by only a few big cities at this moment. The total population of Indonesia is 276 million right now. So if we compare to many countries in the world, at least Indonesia need to have we need to have more than 10 big cities. So this is something actually by bidding the host of 2036 actually is again can create more values to Indonesia, not just the numbers.
All right. Is there any other question, please, over there?
Hello, good evening, gentlemen. This question is for President Thomas Bach, President of the IOC. My name is Adin from C Today. Could you maybe give us a glimpse of what are the key factors for a country bidding for the Olympic and reflecting from what you have seen from Indonesia's past international events like the SEA Games and the G20, maybe you could give us a glimpse of how is Indonesia maybe more prepared than the other participating or bidding country like Turkey in the capital of Istanbul. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think the main factor is to share the Olympic spirit and the Olympic values. You know, like contributing to a better understanding between the people through a peaceful competition during the Olympic Games. The second one is to organize such Olympic Games in a sustainable way, means leaving a legacy to the population of the host country through a more healthy lifestyle, as we have, for instance, seen most recently in Tokyo, where after the Olympic Games, the activity, the sports activity of the population increased significantly, following the role model of the Olympic athletes. The other sustainable factor must be that therefore the facilities, that there is a legacy, means that there are for the benefit of the people, that we do not have so-called white elephants, but that we have then sports facilities, public spaces, which are at the disposal of the population, including through the building of an Olympic village, social affordable housing for thousands of people. I think this is the core factors for presenting a successful candidature. And here again, I can only refer to what I said before. The President Okowo has expressed this Olympic spirit today in his statement by calling for this unifying power of sport, emphasizing the importance of sport for health, enabling sport to make a contribution to peace by keeping its political neutrality, and by developing Nusantara in a role model of a sustainable city in the world. So therefore, I can see many ingredients for a successful campaign there of Indonesia. And this is supported by the experience you mentioned under the leadership of my friend Eric Thohir. You saw excellent Asian Games here in Indonesia, which impressed not only Asia, but also impressed many visitors from other continents, and left such a great legacy to Jakarta and Indonesia. And the G20 with from my point of view, a seamless organization for one of the maybe most complicated meetings in the world, with all these world leaders. And here under the chair of President Wikowo, coming in these very divisive times to a joint communique, is another example of this unifying force.
All right, thank you, His Excellency. Before we conclude our joint press statement, Mr. Erick Thohir, is there anything else? Okay. Let's conclude our joint press statement for tonight. Thank you for your attention. Bye for now.